there's my credentials before we get into this. I am a video producer. I've been a video producer since the year 2000. I graduated college and I was a music major, oddly enough, and then I got into marketing, and then I got into production. Well, I got into production, then I got into marketing, and then I went back to production. But I've been a loyal user, a begrudgingly loyal producer, user of the Adobe Creative Suite ever since Creative Suite 1, since CS1. So I use CS1, CS2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then when it went to the Creative Cloud, I'm stuck into that. When I was self-employed, I used it, I paid the subscription fee, the $80 a month or whatever. And I hate it. I hate Adobe. I'm going to go on the record. I hate Adobe. So when I came across this video, Adobe is completely fucked. It got my attention. And so I want to watch it with you guys and kind of react to it as we go through it. And then we'll share some more of my thoughts on Adobe. So let's get into it.
Adobe products used to feel like a safe pair of hands that always worked. You'd really struggle to complain with anything. But now they're just something else entirely, and everyone's sick of them. The software you used to buy...
Wait, hang on. What did that say? I want to read some of those comments that are on the screen.
And everyone's sick of...
Yeah, I mean, and these are just, these are average comments on anything Adobe. Fuck you, Adobe. Fuck Adobe with all my heart and soul. Adobe just killed my career. Adobe is Satan. 20 years of Adobe and I'm done. Adobe is the worst company ever. I don't know if I'd agree with that. I would lean more towards EA or Ubisoft, but that's neither here nor there. So let's keep going.
The software you used to buy once and own forever, you now rent by month at a price that climbs every year.
To be fair, even when you bought it once and owned it forever, you didn't get free updates. So like Creative Suite would come out, Creative Suite 2, and then the software would not update. So if it was buggy, it was buggy. That was it. A year later, they would throw in some updates, some new plugins and things like that, but you had to buy the entire suite all over again. From what I remember, they didn't even offer a piecemeal, or I just want After Effects, or I just want Premiere. No, you bought the damn Creative Cloud. Or, I mean, I think you could piecemeal them at one point by like CS3, CS4. I think I could be completely off. It's been many, many years, but you couldn't. It was bundles that you get, and it sucked, and it's still that way. But yeah, that was definitely better because we would have like. At work in the professional setting, the company I worked for would upgrade every year. It was like $3,000. It was pricey, but for a business expense, it's different. At home, I had like CS2 and I skipped 3, I skipped 4, and then I finally broke down and bought 5. And I didn't buy 6. You could skip generations. You could use it for multiple years, which was great.
We lost the tools we could trust and own, and in exchange we got rising subscriptions, mandatory AI nobody asked for, and a fee for the privilege of leaving. But Adobe is finally...
A fee for the privilege of leaving. That's absolutely true. Now, I at home, I haven't used Adobe in a couple of years, but when I did, I had Premiere, After Effects, so I had the video production bundle, and I had the photo editing bundle. So I had Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop, and Lightroom, and that's all I had. Because that's all I needed. I'm a video producer. I don't do a lot of graphic design or page layout or anything like that. Though I was once a page designer for a newspaper, for several newspapers. But that didn't last very long, a couple years. But now over the past 2 or 3 years, I've had 0 Adobe products at home. I still use them at work because the company has them and I can't convince them to go to these alternatives that we'll get into a little bit later. But let's keep going.
Getting what they deserve, caught in a death spiral where all of their greed and cynical corporate strategy are catching up with them.
Is it though? I mean, it's still... It's not the industry standard it used to be, but it's still up there.
And even then, their CEO still claims it's never been better.
I actually believe that there's going to be more opportunity for creative companies than ever before. We are an extremely profitable company and we're growing.
It's true. That's true.
And somehow he's exactly right.
That's true.
That's
true. Their stock prices are tanking. I mean, tanking. And we'll get into why here shortly. But yeah, they've never been as profitable as they are. So
Are
sure, he'll mention
shooting
that.
through the roof. It's actually been their best year ever,
Yeah.
a record $23.8 billion in revenue. So then why have their stocks crashed magnificently by around 65% from their peak, which goes against the entire tech market boom right now? Even with record profits, the market hates them. Well, this is because
So do most of the
there's
users,
much
to be honest with you.
going on with the company that redefined creativity for a generation. It's all just the endpoint of a process they've been orchestrating deliberately for years. You see, Adobe used to be one of those companies whose products had everyone creating tutorials on how to do cool things in Photoshop, Illustrator.
I was one of those. My first attempt into content creation, I had a YouTube channel that I did After Effects, Adobe After Effects tutorials. And so, my credentials, I was an Adobe certified expert at one point. I took the tests, So I'm well trained in Adobe products, and begrudgingly now. But I used to be a big supporter of it. When I first started at the TV station I worked at, it was local news. I got into the marketing department, and there was only 2 people in marketing, and you had to have experience editing, you had to have experience shooting, you had to have experience writing. I had all of that, but there was never anything about motion graphics, visual effects, anything like that. And we just happened to have the full creative suite. And I opened up After Effects one day, instantly fell in love with it. I devoted hours to learning it, and like I said, eventually became a certified expert. But now that job, if that job ever comes open and you go looking for that job on Indeed or whatever, you'll see a prerequisite for that job is Adobe After Effects, because motion graphics has become a cornerstone of the production pipeline in that TV station. And that's because of me. I'm the one that started that. And ever since when I left, ever since then, it's been a prerequisite to get the job. So it was one of those things. I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, what he's saying is, yeah, there used to be just tons of content creation stuff. Video Copilot, which is the guy who ran that, Andrew Kramer, is doing Hollywood stuff now. So I guess he hasn't done tutorials in a number of years, and it might be because of the Hollywood schedule, or it could be because this
or After Effects. But now you'll just find hundreds of tutorials on how to cancel those subscriptions. It looks easy, but
isn't that sad? It takes a tutorial to know how to cancel a subscription. That says pretty much everything you need to know about modern day Adobe.
it isn't. That's why these videos exist. Here's how the trap worked. When you signed up, Adobe steered you towards a plan called Annual Paid Monthly.
Yep.
It was pre-selected for you, and
Yep.
it looked like a simple month-to-month deal, except it wasn't.
And if you went month to month, it was at least $10 more.
What you'd agreed to was a year-long contract, and if you tried to leave before that year was up,
You paid a
Adobe
fine.
charged you an early termination fee
Yep.
worth half of everything you had left to pay on a basic plan that was a surprise bill of hundreds of dollars, just for the crime of wanting to stop. And the best part? That fee was hidden in fine print, tucked behind tiny icons you had to
Annual billed monthly. That says it all right there, that if you cancel early, you're signing a 1-year contract. That, yeah, the verbatim words, he's right, were hidden in fine print and terms, but anyone with half a brain sees annual billed monthly knows that this is a 1-year contract, and there's always penalties for breaking a contract. So I'll say that not quite, but still kind of a shitty business practice.
hover over to even know it existed. Then there was the cancellation itself. You didn't just click a button. You got funneled through page after page of menus, discounts, and prompts.
Yes, it was a pain in the ass to cancel it. And I was paying the extra $10 or $15 a month to not be on an annual contract. I was paying there is a month-to-month option. The default was annual billed monthly, but you had the option to just go month to month. It was more expensive, but you had that option. I was doing that one, and even canceling that where I wouldn't have any penalty for it, even that was a pain. I still have Adobe Creative Cloud is still on my desktop because I can't get it to uninstall. It won't uninstall. All the software's gone. I took off Photoshop and After Effects and Premiere, but the Creative Cloud app itself, I cannot get it to uninstall. I keep trying, and it keeps reinstalling whenever I reopen the computer. It's a pain. It's basically It's basically malware at this point. But yes, he's absolutely spot on. It's a pain in the ass.
Every step was built to wear you down until you just gave up and kept on paying.
100%.
The kind of thing the industry politely calls a dark pattern, meaning a user interface designed to trick you into doing things. If you look on those how to cancel Adobe tutorials, you'll find thousands of comments from those who aren't able to, maybe because of an error or a missing button.
Like I said, I still have, I still can't get the Creative Suite, the Creative Cloud app off.
Justice and the FTC accused them of trapping customers with hidden fees and a deliberately painful cancellation process.
100%.
And they named 2 executives personally. So Adobe finally paid up a $150 million settlement, all while denying any
to the government. $150 million settlement to the government. The users who were getting trapped into these contracts and getting screwed by this fine print, we didn't see a dime. I never got a check.
wrongdoing. But the other story is that users had something to cancel in the first place, and why? Until this, Adobe had honored one simple rule. You bought the software and it was yours. The full Creative
And it used to be
Suite
great.
wasn't cheap, but you owned it.
It was like $3 grand,
Used it for a
$2,600.
decade, and you only paid again when a new version was truly worth it. Then in 20
Or just an update, because they would just update it with a few extra add-ons that you're like, man, I got to have that. Here's another $3 grand. And it was yearly.
2013, Adobe killed that rule. It announced that Creative Suite 6 would be the last version anyone could ever buy outright. From now on, you didn't own Photoshop, you rented it every month forever. And the day you stopped paying was the day you lost the tools your career was built on.
Now, if you were a company, which is who Adobe is marketing themselves for, don't kid yourself. They're not marketing yourself to me or you, even though I used to own a production company. That's neither here nor there. When you're a company, you were updating your Creative Suite every year. You were buying CS1, you were buying CS2, so you were paying $3 grand a year anyway. This subscription service for a business, for a studio, is cheaper than what they did have. So that's, if you're a business, this was a great thing. For an individual user like you or me, or a small studio of 1 or 2 guys, the pricing is insane, because you're talking $90 a month for the suite versus $3 grand. You keep it until you really have to upgrade. But again, Adobe is after the big fish, and that's the studios, the big studios.
They gave it a warm, weightless name.
Don't worry, I'm not just ranting. I have a goal here.
Overnight, a customer who paid once every few years became one who paid every single month. And once your life's work lived inside Adobe's files and formats, leaving meant incinerating all of it. The payoff.
It was not easy to leave Adobe. I did leave Adobe, and we'll get into, after we're done with this video, we'll get into, I know a lot of you have asked what I use to make certain graphics. The graphics you see on my stream, obviously there's not any on the screen right now, but like my starting soon screen, my closing slate, none of that was made in anything Adobe. And the new graphics that are coming very soon, actually, again, not made in Adobe. And we'll go through when we're done with this video on what I use. And if you guys are interested in tips and stuff like that, to be able to get into video editing, graphic design, visual effects, things like that for your streams or for your YouTube channels or for whatnot, without spending a ton of money. In some cases, spending no money at all. What's up? Just the tips. Just the tips. That's my thing.
This last year, selling box
Welcome in, Zen.
Adobe made around $4 billion.
Good Lord.
A decade later, it pulls in over $23 billion.
That's not bad for a company that started off with PDFs.
A year. And most people badly underestimate how much more they hand over by renting it. The old master collection cost around $2,600. It
was about $3 grand. It was a little more than that.
And it was yours.
For a year.
Creative Cloud Suite today costs up to $70 a month.
89.
A little over $840 a year. Which means every 3 years of renting now costs you what the entire box suite used to cost to own outright.
But again, remember, the big companies, the big studios, the people that Adobe is marketing for, is aiming for, were updating every year. So they were spending $3 grand a year. So over that 3 years that you're seeing right here, that's $9,000. Now they're paying about $2,500. So for the big studios, it makes sense. The rest of us, no.
So a designer who's now paid every month since Creative Cloud landed in 2013 has actually handed Adobe well over $8,000. Or take a 40-year career. Even on the kindest possible assumption that Adobe would never raise prices again, even though this is something they've never once managed,
Right.
the full suite at around $840 a year comes to over $33,000 in rent before you retire. But Adobe does raise the price, so you're probably looking at $60,000, ranging up to a grand total of $100,000 for one subscription. $100,000 just to do your job. $100,000.
Yeah, but you're not doing your job at home. Your boss is paying it. Your company is paying it. And again, this is for the big student. Adobe is the industry standard for a reason, because they are, I sound like I'm defending Adobe. I'm absolutely not. I can't. We're going to get into the alternatives. And like I said, I don't use Adobe, but I understand the business model. It does help the big studios.
Spend on a holiday or food or buying a house or raising a family.
It does, however, that brings up a good point. It does, however, make the price of entry, getting your foot in the door in this career, much more troublesome, because you go to apply for, say, a video editor position. It's going to ask, do you have experience in Adobe Premiere? And if you don't have it at home to play with, which now you can't, because back in the day, in the CS1 through CS6 days, there were sailing the high seas, if you know what I mean. You could get yourself a copy and be able to learn Premiere before you apply for said job without buying it, if you're on return. Not that I ever did that, of course. I mean, of course not. Adobe was the GOAT back in the early Adobe days. Yeah, for sure. But now, because it's the Creative Cloud, you don't have access. I think you get a 30-day trial, so you could, but 30 days, you might be able to learn Premiere in 30 days, but you're not learning After Effects in 30 days. You're not learning, I mean, you can get okay with Photoshop, but Illustrator in 30 days, nah, not a chance. Yeah, no, who would do that?
A single move became the most copied decision in modern business.
Yeah.
Every executive in tech watched Adobe swap ownership for rent and get rich, then did the same to their own customers, one industry at a time. Now we're just used to it, but just
I am not used to it.
It never used to be like this. You don't own your music anymore. You rent it from Spotify.
I still buy CDs.
You buy on a streaming service. Amazon.
I still buy physical media. I still buy CDs. When I can find the damn things. Yeah, every payday, I get on Amazon and I order Blu-rays. I order 2 or 3, or I'll go to Half Price Books and I'll browse their used DVDs. I have a whole library. where is it? Where the hell is it? I don't know where it is. Hold on. This is about half. This is about half of my, no, hold on. Hold on.
What's she doing? What's she showing on screen? Oh no.
This is the other half of my Blu-ray collection. I'm very big because I hate this subscription thing. Thanks a lot for that, Adobe.
Hello.
Hello. You see what I'm saying? So no, I don't have Adobe anymore, and I don't. I do still have some of the streaming, Disney and HBO. But whenever I can, dude, it's physical media. Physical media. These damn subscription services, they suck. Anyway, sorry for the tangent. Back to it.
Once reached into people's Kindles and deleted books they'd already paid for. And the book it deleted, of all things, was 1984. Your car insurance monitors your every move so it can price you correctly.
Not mine.
Home ownership is at an all-time low. The list just goes on and on and on. The majority of people now have 5 to 8 subscriptions, as slowly all ownership is ground into dust. The subscription world you live in now, where almost nothing is truly yours, was built on what Adobe proved in 2013.
Yep.
You might have heard of techno-feudalism, the Greek economist Yanis Varoufakis' idea that the biggest tech companies own the land while everyone else works on it and pays for the privilege.
Yep.
Most people never even notice the arrangement they're living under. That's the world Yanis says we've drifted into.
Is to create enclosures in which we are like sheep enclosed within them and extract rent from us. The West slavery is one that you volunteer to.
And obviously your techno-feudal lords don't have your best interests at heart.
Do not fall into the trap of thinking that there is, a good techno-feudal lord.
Yanis isn't the only one noticing this and shouting it into the void. Slovenian
I have been shouting against Adobe for years.
The same argument, and two of them agreed fully on what's
If Design Spark pops in, ask her.
Of this new corporative
He hears it from me all the time.
digital and so on, is that it's a new form of the privatization of commons. The very space in which even capitalists and workers and so on exchange stuff is controlled by them. That's the feudal moment.
And there's a more specific name for a company that behaves like this by colonizing
Assholes?
of our digital lives
Douchebags?
and using it as a
Pieces of shit?
control. The big tech critic and political economist Brett Christophers calls it a rentier.
Oh,
the idea
that's much
is that
nicer.
Sometimes businesses earn their money by actually doing something. They make a product, they sell it, and they have to win you over all over again every time. A rentier doesn't work like that. You're not really a customer in that arrangement, you're a tenant, and if we're being honest, closer to a serf. You can take it
That's
from
a
the
stretch.
World Economic Forum itself.
That's a stretch.
On one of their own stages, two economists ironically laid out the exact racket.
The biggest topic here at Davos and the biggest topic around the world, and that is inequality. And in particular, we're going to be talking about rentier capitalism.
Rentier capitalism is about the existence of a system in which the return to private property rights exceeds the return to production.
A lot of it gets captured by things that are in very short supply or inelastic supply, and where you have property rights on that.
And the way you keep that supply scarce is simple.
Buy all the
Make sure
companies.
No rival
Yep.
is ever allowed to compete,
Yep.
thus making products a necessity like needing somewhere to live.
Yep.
Those 5 platform corporations have bought up over 500 other corporations.
Looks at EA.
As soon as they
Absolutely.
become potentially competitive,
Adobe is like the
these are
EA of the
powerful
creative world.
barons of the 21st century.
All of that set on a stage at the one event on the calendar most likely to be full of them. And let's not forget, these are the ones who invented that 2030 prediction for what they considered a utopia. Adobe is exactly what the rentier and techno-feudal models predict. When your customers can walk away, you have to keep the product well maintained. Quality sells,
Yep.
but when you rent a product because you need to, you don't get the joy and pleasure of ownership. And
Dude, and ever since they went to Creative Cloud, their software has gotten buggier and less efficient, less streamlined. I have so many, because I still have to use Adobe Premiere at work until I can convince them to ditch that and go with the alternatives that we'll talk about here in a little bit. CS1 through CS6, dude, that stuff just worked. It worked. It was streamlined. It was efficient. I didn't have any mess with things just playing back. You play back a video file before you've rendered it and it gets all digitized and glitchy. I didn't have that problem. Ever since the Creative Cloud, Premiere went to dog shit. I get errors all the time, crashes constantly. It sucks. And it's because they've gotten so big that they've convinced themselves that there's no alternative. They're very, very wrong.
the product quality and features become an afterthought. But a company doesn't get this brazen by accident. It's a calculated, decades-long strategy. And so to understand how Adobe ended up treating their own customers like hostages, you have to go back to how they got this powerful in the first place. Like Microsoft, Google, and the others, Adobe built its empire on a monopoly. It was one of the great digital empires to emerge from the dot-com era. And like the other tech titans, it got there through a mix of true genius and ruthless deal-making.
The guys used to work for Xerox.
In 1982, when two engineers, John Warnock and Charles Geschke, left a company called Xerox and founded Adobe, named after the creek that ran behind Warnock's
And they made
house.
software
Their
for
first
printers.
product was PostScript,
Yeah.
the invisible language that tells a printer exactly how to draw a page. Apple built it into the LaserWriter, and for the first time, anyone with a computer and a printer could produce professional quality documents. So that was the start of Adobe's good reputation among
And
consumers.
then they
in the
acquired
tech
PDFs.
industry. Then
Acquired,
came something
didn't
just
invent.
about everyone in the world
Acquired.
knows, the humble PDF. It worked so well that it became the default format of the entire planet. By the mid-2000s, Adobe believed that up to 1 billion computers were running it. And then came the crown jewel in the Adobe empire, Photoshop. Adobe didn't even invent it. Two brothers, Thomas and John Knoll, did. Adobe simply bought the license in 1988 and turned it into the default tool for every photographer, designer, and artist alive. Photoshop, which Adobe again did not even make, became so dominant that its own name turned into a verb. To Photoshop something is just what you call editing images now. But like any empire, Adobe wasn't entirely built on good faith. They made sure you'd never have an alternative. Whenever a strong competitor stepped into the light, Adobe either bought it or buried it. The clearest example
Affinity right there in the middle,
Freehand.
we'll talk about in a little bit.
In 1994, Adobe bought the company that sold it, being the main rival to Illustrator. The FTC was pretty militant back then, and forced
Freehand was great. I remember Freehand.
back and banned it from buying the product again for an entire decade. So Adobe simply waited like a predator stalking its prey. Freehand eventually landed with a company called Macromedia, and in 2005, 1 year after that
which
ban
included
expired,
Flash.
they bought them outright for $3.4 billion and shut Freehand down for good. Its last serious rival in illustration was simply erased from existence. That same deal also handed Adobe Flash and Dreamweaver, the tools the early internet was practically built on, extending its grip from design onto the web itself. If you remember the internet games you'd play on a browser in the CD and floppy disk era, that was all Adobe Flash.
He's talking to people my age.
One by one, the rivals vanished and Adobe became the standard. It was taught in every school and demanded on every job listing. You've used Adobe's tools because of what they did back then. That's the whole game, and all the tech giants did it in their own ways. Then, once they transitioned to a subscription model, like your landlord charging higher and higher rents, Adobe started cranking the handle. Year after year, the cost jumps upward. Adobe took its flagship plan, the $59.99 a month Creative Cloud that included nearly everything, and started trying to move people onto pricier new tiers, and raising some
just did
50%. The photography plan that cost $9.99 per month increased to $14.99.
I remember Bowmaster.
Though, made it even worse. They'd stuffed their apps full of the AI called Firefly, and now everyone would pay for them. A massively upvoted Reddit post described it as Adobe's AI tax. Then, if you made it through the dark pattern and demoted to the standard plan to save money, Adobe cut your monthly AI credits from 1,000 to 25.
Yeah, because who needs that shit to begin with?
% reduction. Pay more for AI you never asked for, or pay less for a crippled version of the software you already have.
Because the problem there is that, oh, well, I don't want Firefly, so I'm gonna get the standard. However, Firefly has been so integrated into this software, into Premiere, into Photoshop, into After Effects. It's been so ingrained into the core of that software that when you don't use it, you're crippled. So it's like downgrading from a full game to a demo, almost.
Specification of the software itself. Just like the scrappy new built houses in your neighborhood, the clothes you wear, and the other things that you love, the big 2025 releases of Photoshop fell well short of the line. Premiere Pro was especially a buggy mess. But this isn't the end of the awful story. Now comes its incredibly satisfying reckoning. Because in 2024,
Adobe Premiere was so bad last year. So bad. It's all we have. All I have on my computer at my office is the Adobe products, unfortunately. Premiere was so bad that a lot of the edits that I did for work, I would go tell the boss, hey, I'm going to go home and edit this because I can edit this shit at home in 20 minutes where it's going to take me 2 hours messing with this buggy ass software. So I did a lot of editing from home because Adobe released a garbage product that we were stuck in a subscription plan for. I should probably thank them for that because I got to work from home a lot.
They went one step too far and put users' work on the table. A mandatory update to its terms granted the company permission to access your content through both automated systems and human review. The reaction was seismic. A single post breaking down the new terms has 12 million views to date, and Adobe went back on its word saying it wouldn't now use personal work to train AI.
They said that, hold on. They said that, but by the way, I was a big Adobe, so I went to Adobe Max 3 years in a row. So big supporter of Adobe back in the day. Not so much anymore. see, they said, oh no, we're not gonna, it was, where is it? They released a statement. Hold on, let me find it. They released a statement that's pretty funny. There we go. I think it's this one. Yeah, we recently rolled out a reacceptance of our terms of use, led to concerns about these terms, blah, 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 blah. You own your content. Never be used to train a generative AI tool. Oh, they took it out. They included at one part, they were like, I'm going to find it. Hold on. Adobe. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, okay, here we go. Our access to your content. We may access, view, or listen to your content in limited ways only as permitted by law. For example, in order to provide services and software, blah, blah, blah. Our automated systems may analyze your content and Creative Cloud custom fonts using techniques such as machine learning, that's AI, in order to improve our services and software. Firefly is one of their software. Firefly is their AI. They can say what they want, but in their terms of service, using techniques such as machine learning in order to improve our services and software. So if I go and I do an edit and I put my 25 years of experience into this edit, their machine learning in order to improve their services and software, Firefly, is going to take that and it's going to give these edits to somebody who just types in, hey, make an edit about blah, blah, whatever. That happens to be the type of video I was editing. And now my 25 years of experience are going to help somebody who knew how to type a prompt, man. So that alone makes me glad that I left Adobe, because that's dog shit. And they're full of crap that they're not using the projects that we make in their software to train their AI.
Creators remained up in arms for months.
Last week, Adobe updated their Creative Cloud terms of service, and boy, did it not go well. They changed the terms of service of their stock photo service by rolling out Firefly retroactively to make it okay for them to use that content in their training data.
Yep.
Because the trust is gone.
No.
And you can't just get it back.
He's right.
Truth be told,
and I don't believe them when they say they're not. Oh, we're not going to train our AI.
They owned
Right.
the land. But like every single empire on this planet that has fallen, the cracks began to form. It started with a strong new challenger in Figma. Adobe reached for the usual tactic and agreed to buy it for $20 billion in 2022. One of the biggest software takeovers ever attempted. The CEO then went on CNBC to make the case that there was nothing here to worry about.
And I don't see any overlap. I don't see anything that would make it so that the myriad competitors would be disenfranchised if you merged. Don't you have to say, look, the market is so big that this would not hurt it?
He gave that question a buzzword-stuffed answer.
What we are seeing is really this confluence of creativity and productivity. And when you think about it like that, it's like every tech company, whether you have a platform and it's companies like Microsoft or Google or Apple or Meta, every surface that exists, whether that's a web browser, whether that's a mobile device, whether that's a desktop.
Word salad.
To take the ability for what Figma has done with respect to creative, collaborative software on the web, combine that with what Adobe has done in our creative and make it even more accessible for others.
But it wasn't to be. This time, Adobe failed.
So that deal was scrapped as regulators. They raised concerns about it eliminating competition, removing Figma as a threat to Adobe.
Regulators in the US, UK, and EU lined up to block it. The deal then collapsed at the end of 2023, and Adobe had to hand Figma $1 billion for nothing at all. Figma actually used that money to help itself go public. It was like when Rome marched into Germania, lost 3 entire legions in the trees, and then just gave up conquering it for good. The second blow was Canva, who bought Affinity, which is like Photoshop and made it free. More than 1 million people signed up in under a week. Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve had already done the same thing to Premiere on the video side. But the third blow would be—
We're going to get into those in a minute.
Think about what Adobe really does. They make difficult things like editing images or making movies possible, but not easy. And to their credits, before they started ill-treating their users, they They supported genuine creativity, but now generative AI has
They
started
really
to
did.
drain
They
that
really
skill
used to.
scarcity away. When you can create media with the click of a button, software that makes hard stuff easier but still requires skill to operate is just a dying breed.
I disagree.
Nvidia,
I disagree.
Google, and Meta didn't have that issue because they didn't depend on the creative industries that Adobe does. And with some poetic justice, Adobe's own AI pretty much started killing Adobe's own business. Firefly lets people generate images from Adobe stock images instead of buying them, and
It's also hot garbage.
they can be really expensive, so customers did exactly that. They started cannibalizing themselves by joining the AI race and being one of the only companies not to make money out of it. By plugging their AI like mad, they effectively contributed to their own redundancy. And that's exactly what the market has worked out.
I disagree. They're giving that to the small timers. The big studios, the big production houses, the big marketing firms, they're not using that. They might use Firefly for a starting off point, but as someone who's worked in the industry for a long time, when you deliver, say when I ran my own studio, a company hired me to do their commercial production. When you deliver that end product, you deliver those commercials, you also deliver all the project files that went with them, and they always wanted the project files in an Adobe format, Premiere Pro, PROG file, Premiere Pro's format. They wanted AEP files for After Effects. They wanted PSD files. They wanted .ai files. They wanted the Adobe project files. So you still had to deliver project files. You type something in a Firefly, hey, make me a product description of you're getting a JPEG. And you're not going to send the company that just paid you thousands of dollars for this product a JPEG. You're going to make it in Photoshop. You're going to make it in Illustrator, because you're going to have to send them, say it's a graphic design, it's going to have to be a vector graphic so that they can scale and print and do whatever they need to do with it. You're not, the big guys are not doing this. Now the little guys, the content creators on YouTube, the Twitch streamers, myself included, would absolutely benefit for that. But again, Adobe's not marketing themselves to the little guys like us. They're marketing themselves to the big guys. So I disagree with him. I don't think they're making themselves obsolete with Firefly. I think they're just throwing some crumbs to the little guy.
Adobe shares had peaked near $700 at the end of 2021, but by the spring of 2026, they had fallen roughly 65% from that high, trading near $200. It's down this year, it's down over the last 5 years, and even some big asset managers who used to support it have now abandoned ship. Adobe posted record revenue of $23.8 billion in 2025, but the stock was being walked to the gallows anyway because no one sees its future. And
well, here's the problem. It's not dropping because of Firefly. It's dropping because studios are closing. Owning a production studio is getting harder and harder and harder. Most of these big corporations that do training videos, and they do the corporate videos, commercial production, that's kind of the bread and butter of a video producer. I struck gold with a job where I get to make documentary films. I'm going to hang on to this job. I'm writing this job till the wheels fall off. But the bread and butter is commercial production, corporate videos. The big companies are starting to employ their own in-house production. So the production studios are going away. And when the production studios go away, the subscriptions to the Creative Cloud go away with them.
Even if Adobe survives all of this, it may have already lost the one thing it could always count on. Its tools have become so expensive, so bloated, so openly contemptuous of the people using them, that these people are actually just starting to leave altogether. Now for years, this was unthinkable. There was nowhere to go. Now, there's everywhere. And here's the part that should scare
And we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Watching their downfall. When Microsoft and Meta hit trouble, AI was their bailout. Whether it's a bubble or not, AI has been like a magnet for money and tech. For Adobe, AI is the opposite. It's the angry guy kicking the door in. There is no AI bailout.
But it's because they're using AI to get people's foot in the door.
So while they're
it's not meant to replace Photoshop.
It's also closer to the edge than it has been in decades. And if it does go over, it'll teach every other company the same lesson. You can squeeze your customers as hard as you like. You can let the product rot, hike the price, rent people back the things they used to own. Whether you're selling software or streaming or printers or cars or chocolate bars, you can get away with all of it for years. But the moment real competition comes back and there's no AI bailout to save you, you can lose everything. But Adobe is in the minority, and when you look around you, the same thing is happening everywhere.
Adobe's ingrained in the industry like ticks. They're not going to go away completely. I think he's being a little over dramatic. He makes some good points, but I think he's being just a little bit over dramatic because, yeah, it's not going away. It's just, it's too ingrained in the industry. But if you're a streamer, if you're a YouTuber, if you're a content creator, if you're a one person show, working out of your home, doing it for fun as a hobby, you have a day job that has nothing to do with video production or graphic design or any of this stuff, it's just something you do on the side for fun, do not fall into paying for Adobe products. The only people that should be paying for Adobe products, and they should only be paying for it temporarily, number one is the companies that employ these big studios that have these big productions. Yeah, number one, they can afford it. Number two, Adobe is still the industry standard. It's not as good as it used to be, and that standard is starting to diminish somewhat, but we're not there yet. You're still going to be asked if you have experience in Premiere. If not Premiere, they're going to ask Final Cut. Some studios are still using Apple. But you're not going to get, we want experience in DaVinci Resolve. So for people who want to get into the industry, you're a college kid, you're getting your degree in it, you're probably learning this software in school because the Adobe pumped tons of just free software, free copies of their Creative Cloud into schools everywhere. You might want to consider like a student license, which are cheaper, just so that you can get up to speed, get as proficient as possible so you can land the job because you're in the industry. Everybody else, you do not need Adobe. In fact, Adobe is the EA of the creative world. And I'm going to show you just real quick. We're going to wrap up this rant here in just a few minutes, but I wanted to show you the Adobe Creative Suite. You have Premiere Pro, which is what I use the most. You have Adobe I don't need to put Adobe. You have After Effects. Those are the two, as a video producer and as a documentary filmmaker, those are the two I use the most. But I also will use Photoshop on occasion. I'll also use Illustrator. And then I used to use Cinema 4D, but that's not an Adobe product, so we'll leave that one out. It's weird to me that Adobe hasn't gone into 3D software just yet, but that's a whole other story. But these are the big four: Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, Lightroom to an extent. What else? I'm trying to think of what other Adobe product. Well, if you're doing page layouts, you'd use InDesign. Most companies, I worked for a newspaper for 2 years as a page designer. It was a central desk, so I was designing newspapers for 5 different newspapers around the country. And it was InDesign. It was all InDesign and Illustrator. That's all we used. So those are the ones you would use. If you're going into the professional field, it would serve your career to learn these begrudgingly. But if you're, a Twitch streamer, which I'm assuming most of the people that watch my streams, you guys also stream. I'm a Twitch streamer. I'm about to go through the software that I use. And most of it's free. Some of it does cost a little bit of money, but I'm not going to suggest or recommend any software to you that's subscription based. I hate that. I can't stand it. And we're not going to do that. So first of all, a Premiere Pro. A lot of you already know this one and probably already have it. DaVinci Resolve. I would say if you want to get serious into your YouTube stuff and you want to get serious into editing those videos for YouTube and really, really become professional in the video production side of things, I would recommend DaVinci Resolve. Has 2 versions. There's we talked about that earlier. DaVinci Resolve has well, they have a lot of this stuff. We can get into the hardware side of things at any time. They have two versions. They have DaVinci Resolve, which is free, completely free. I love DaVinci Resolve. This is my go-to now. When I was saying earlier that last year Adobe Premiere was so buggy that I would edit at home, I was editing at home on DaVinci. However, I will say that if you're serious about it and you want to do some serious work in it, it's worth I think it's still $300. Because there's DaVinci Resolve, which is completely free, but then there's DaVinci Studio, which unlocks a whole bunch of new of extra features in the software. And I think it's like $299. No, I just show me Resolve. I think it's still $300. I bought it, and this is one thing where DaVinci outshines Adobe even back in the day. Adobe back in the day, you got your software. When they updated it, you had to buy the software again because they call it, oh, now it's CS2, now it's CS3. With DaVinci, you buy the software, the updates are free, man. You get a thing, hey, a new version's available, download, boom, installed. DaVinci Resolve, here we go. Where's DaVinci Resolve? Yeah, it's still it's $295. It's still $300. If you're just doing basic stuff, you know, and you don't need the advanced tools and you don't need the more professional level tools, the free version is excellent. I used it for a couple of years before I finally dropped the $300 and got Studio. Studio is amazing. Even today, it is still better than Adobe Premiere. So don't waste your money on Adobe Premiere. If you want to get into video editing, it's DaVinci Resolve all the way. Their color correcting system alone is phenomenal, and it's available in the free one. With Studio, you get a lot more transition effects. You get a lot more color grading effect. You get a lot more exporting codecs, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, DaVinci replaces Premiere, no question. DaVinci Resolve. Now, we're going to skip After Effects. We'll come back to that one. I'll tell you why in just a little bit. But Photoshop, for the longest time, the only competitor to Photoshop was GIMP. And GIMP is good, but the learning curve is actually steeper than Photoshop's learning curve. And it looks clunky. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. The UI just doesn't, it looks antiquated. Not a huge fan of GIMP. GIMP is powerful. It's a learning cliff, yes, for sure. GIMP is powerful. It can do most things that Photoshop can do, minus the AI stuff. But it's not the greatest. Now, what I've been using for a while now, since I cut ties with Adobe, I've been using Affinity. It used to be Affinity Designer, Affinity da-da-da. They had several different apps. And they were, you know, there was a paid version and a free version, just like DaVinci. But Affinity has been purchased by Canva. So yeah, right there. So Canva now owns Affinity. Will that destroy Affinity? I don't know. However, I will say, you know, I can even open it up if you want to take a look at the UI. It's opening on the wrong monitor. Right now, Affinity is completely free. It looks and it feels like Photoshop. So if you're coming over from Photoshop, it's good stuff. Let the enshittification proceed. It could, man. It could. But, you know, right now, it's all kind of the same tools. The shortcuts are all the same. It's basically they said, hey, let's rip off Photoshop. So if you're a Photoshop veteran, the new Affinity, it used to be separate apps, but now it's all in one app. You have the Vector Studio, which is the direct competitor to Illustrator. You have Pixel, which is the direct competitor to Photoshop. And then you have Layout, which is the direct competitor to InDesign. So at our level, as a Twitch streamer, as a YouTuber, as a content creator, as a TikToker, or what have you, this is great. You know, I make my thumbnails for my YouTube videos. I make my thumbnails in Pixel and Affinity Pixel. I had the old versions of the software. For a while, I used GIMP, but it got to be a headache. I use Affinity. Now, will Affinity always be free? I don't know. It's owned by Canva now. When big companies buy products, you know, I know it's going to start pushing the Canva Pro subscription at some point. So for now, as of today, I can recommend Affinity. Will I be able to, or will they Adobify their shit? I don't know. So for now, I can recommend Affinity. It replaces Photoshop. It replaces Illustrator. It replaces InDesign if you're doing page layout. And if you want a standalone, like I said, there's GIMP, which is another one. GIMP is an open source software. It will always be free. It's pretty powerful. Doesn't have any of the like AI features. Like in Photoshop, you can load a photo and then just tell the AI thing, hey, remove the background. And it does okay. It's not great. GIMP, you have to do it all manually. It's old school. So there's GIMP. If you wanted to use, if you need Illustrator, then you have Inkscape. Inkscape is another really good. Why is it in the Microsoft store? Let me guess. It got bought by Microsoft and they're going to Adobify it too. Inkscape is also good. Did I just download it? Oh, I guess I just downloaded it. Cool. Inkscape is another good one. So there's your Illustrator. There's your Photoshop. These are the tools I use. I'm not just throwing out shit that I read on the internet and be like, oh, what about those? I don't use Inkscape anymore because I've been using Affinity. But Illustrator, you have Affinity. You have Inkscape. InDesign, I know I don't do enough InDesign to really be an expert on what the good alternative is, but Affinity does have a built-in InDesign type thing. Now we go back to After Effects. After Effects, for the longest time, I have a folder on my desktop that I just labeled my NOdobe suite. It has all of my Adobe alternatives in it. My DaVinci, my GIMP, my Affinity, my Inkscape, all of that was in it. I don't have an Inkscape anymore. After Effects, for the longest time, was the one piece that I could not find an alternative for. The closest I could get was Blender 3D. And you want to talk about learning cliffs? Yeah, Blender 3D is, yeah, it's a learning Earth re-entry. You're falling and on fire. But again, Blender, I still use. I'm going to put that up there as an After Effects alternative because I absolutely use Blender on a daily basis at work, at home. Most of the graphics you're going to see in the new graphics package were made in Blender. Made in Blender, edited in DaVinci. But there's actually a couple more now. Now, I don't want to go so far as to recommend these yet because I haven't really tried them. But Cavalry is another one, which is free. And if I remember correctly, is also now owned by Canva. Did they get bought by Canva? I think they did. Maybe not. Maybe not. But there's Cavalry, which is for 2D motion graphic design. And I have heard amazing. I've installed it. I have it, but I haven't used it yet. Yeah, I have it here. Yeah, right here. Whoop. There it is. I have it. I just installed it yesterday, so I haven't really played around with it much at all. But I will, and I can get back to you on that one. Again, my background was in Premiere and After Effects, and at one point I was an Adobe certified expert in After Effects. So I'm very proficient in After Effects. So finding something comparable to After Effects is tough for me because I have such advanced knowledge in After Effects. But there's Cavalry, and then there is Maxon, which I haven't installed that one yet either. Maxon has created, they make Cinema 4D, they make it's the sculpting one, ZBrush. They make ZBrush. They also added in Autograph. From what I understand, this is a direct competitor for Adobe After Effects, and I've watched some videos on it, but I haven't actually used it yet, so I can't go so far. If it is as good, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the marketing thing. It's free also. So Autograph is free. We can go back through these. DaVinci Resolve. Let's move it where you guys can see it. You got DaVinci Resolve free or $295. for Pro. I highly recommend the Pro if you're serious in video editing. I would actually. After Effects, you've got Blender 3D, which is actually really good for motion graphics once you get over that learning curve. Did I say curve? Blender 3D, you've got Cavalry maybe, and you've got Autograph maybe. I need to test those. I need to poke around with them, see how good they are before I can officially recommend them. I can recommend Blender. So Blender, free. All three of those are free, free, free. Photoshop, you have GIMP, which is free. You have Affinity, which is free for now. Illustrator, again, Affinity, free. And then InDesign, you free. So you can have a good competitor, a competent competitor for Adobe for not much money. DaVinci Resolve Studio is about the only one you'd have to pay for. Affinity used to have a paid version. They used to have the Pro version. I think it was like $200 or $300. But when Canva bought it, they updated the software and they released it for free. And I think that's because Canva is leaning really heavy into their online automated, here, just take this template, customize it, and away you go. I think that's where Canva is putting most of it. So Canva might leave Affinity alone. Or they might offer Affinity for free so people will make them more templates that they can then sell. Canva seems more focused on selling templates than they do the actual creative software side. So there's a little hope there, but